Donald Trump can, in fact, win the New York hush money case. The conservative media has been saying that it's impossible for Trump to win because Trump can't get a fair jury in New York. Likewise, the liberal media has been saying that it's impossible for Trump to win because he's so obviously guilty. They're both wrong. There's a very good chance that Trump can win this case. My name is Joseph Hudak. I'm a criminal defense lawyer headquartered in Pennsylvania, but I do cases in every state, typically along with local counsel, and hopefully I can give you expert guidance for understanding the Trump trial. At the end of this video, in each video, I'll give you Trump's scorecard on each issue we discuss. Now, in part one of this video, I explained that the selection of a jury would be very important. And we discussed what type of a jury would be unreceptive to the prosecution's case against Trump. It's not at all like you might think. It's got nothing to do with politics. What it's really about is that if Trump has a smart jury, and it appears that he does, the jury will understand how difficult the prosecution's case actually is to prove. And as I said, the prosecution has to make a two-cushion shot, a 9-ball in the side pocket, and they've got to prove each part of it beyond a reasonable doubt. Trump needs a smart jury to understand what the prosecution's required to prove, and Trump needs a smart jury not to be distracted by all the scandalous material related to the case. So, if you're interested in that, in an outline of what the prosecution is required to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, watch part one. In this video, we're going to discuss the type of jurors who would be receptive to the other side of the case, Donald Trump's side of the case. Now, just for a moment, bear in mind the first line of defense in this case is that the prosecution simply cannot prove that 9-ball in the side pocket two-cushion shot. They can't even prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. But in every case, there are other defenses. I call them the unofficial defenses. For instance, the victim had it coming. Or a variation of that, the victim was so bad the world's better off without him. Or another unofficial defense, it's not fair to prosecute one co-conspirator and not the other co-conspirator who happens to be working with the prosecution. A variation of that might be that it's not fair to prosecute one presidential candidate and not the other. These are not official defenses. They're not recognized by the court. But very often, they're the basis of how a jury decides a case. Also, sometimes a little different, there will be an unofficial defense that the jury just doesn't like the way that the prosecution presents or tries to prove its case. This might be a situation where the defendant is in fact guilty, but the police or the prosecution's key witnesses blatantly lied or planted evidence or twisted the facts. Again, these aren't legal defenses. They're not officially recognized by the court, but they very often make a big difference in a case. In the Trump case, again, I've not seen the evidence, but generally it appears that the prosecution's key witnesses will be Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen, Trump's bookkeeper, Alan Weisberg, who pled guilty to falsifying business records, and Hope Hicks, a very impressive woman who was the White House communications director and seems to now have turned against Trump. And then finally, David Pecker, the owner of the National Enquirer supermarket tabloid that carried out the catch and kill. Now, even if all of these people say and testify what they're expected to say, that might not prove a crime. Remember, as I explained in part one, the key to this case is whether the hush money payment was or was not a campaign expense. that required Trump to disclose it on his campaign finance report. It's unlikely that the judge will allow the jury to hear about this, but the federal government, who you would expect would be the one to prosecute this kind of a case, declined to prosecute. The current Manhattan DA's predecessor, an old school Democrat, also declined to prosecute. But let's assume that Stormy Daniels, Michael Cohen, Alan Weisberg, Hicks, and David Pecker all testify that the hush money was